Hello, and welcome to the OriginMD channel. If you've chosen to go for a more controlling route and have an Origins-only collection, but crave to have fast games, this Red Deck Wins deck might be the one for you. It's assumed you have already watched the level 1 video discussing which set to take, and level 2 video regarding the basic types of decks there are in Magic. This deck wins by being as aggressive as possible. Usually, you would know whatever you've won or lost by turn 5 or 6. If you have achieved your goal of bringing your opponent's life total to a low amount, say 2 or 4, you may delay the game until you draw your burn spells, but generally, you should know your fate by turn 5. Conceding is a viable part of the strategy to maximize the gold farming and building your collection. Don't be shy to do this. When you play ranked games, every strategy of the deck has to take into account the meta game that changes between seasons. Red Deck Wins achieves stability by being as fast as possible. Experienced aggro players will know when to attack and when to defend. One of the biggest mistakes in Magic is to attack only and play your best creatures first. Play around removal and mass removal. Keep some creatures in your hand around turn 4 or 5 to avoid board wipes from black and white decks. This is something that will come with experience. This deck can blaze through to rank 15, but from this moment onwards you may meet fierce resistance, bad draws, mana flood, or just better players and decks. Depending on when you play in the cycles discussed in level 2, you might reach as high as rank 30 with this deck. This deck features games versus rank 30 to 40 players. You will likely have it easier. We prefer to get our cheap creatures out as soon as possible in this deck. Goblin Glory Chaser is an excellent one-drop, especially if he gets renowned, but he can be horrible if you draw him on your 3rd, 4th, or 5th turn. Your other creatures have an upside in prowess that you can trigger for massive damage. To facilitate this, there are Aura's enchantments that are quite powerful and can grant haste and trample, but be careful and try not to lose your creatures to removal before the Auras are attached. If you would like, you can replace the Call of the Full Moon with sorceries that generate creatures, for example, Dragon Fodder. Your finishers are stealing opponent's creatures and burning spells that help you finish the game when your opponent has stabilized the board. Now, let's discuss each card's role in detail. The Goblin Glory Chaser at its best is a 5/4 creature with trample and menace at the end of turn 2. At its worst, it comes out on turn 3 or 4 or even 5 and does nothing. Having 3 of them in the deck means that you would ideally have one of them in the opening hand. Goblin Arsonist, by contrast, is a card that provides value by having an ability to deal an additional point of damage once it dies. In the Aether Revolt meta, there are quite a few 1 toughness creatures that can be a target of this ability, so it's a nice card overall. Fiery Impulse with Spell Mastery is the answer to the Smuggler's Copter in this deck. Otherwise, it gets rid of the pesky blockers your opponent may have. Titan Strength is a versatile card that not only buffs your creatures, but also has a scry effect, allowing you to have more control over what you will draw next, making this one of the best cards in the deck. It also triggers prowess for our creatures. Abbot of Carol Keep is better played on turns 3 and 4. Remember to play him before you play any lands, because he can play another land for you for free with this exile effect. Also has prowess to deal some more sweet damage. Ember Hauler is a decent 2/2 creature with attached burn, decent for closing out the game, but don't forget to keep 1 mana needed for the ability. Majoring Bully attacks each turn of Fable, just what we need in the Red Deck Wins. The prowess makes this card a powerhouse in this deck. Call of the Full Moon is powerful and grants trample. Apart from the usual downsides of Auras, it's possible for you or your opponent to get rid of it by casting 2 spells per turn. Still, a +3/+2 in trample can be very powerful, and if the target is a creature with prowess, even for 1 turn, a 6/4 with trample can be devastating to your opponent. You may also replace this card with a Dragon Fodder if you would like to have more creatures on the board. Infectious Bloodlust is a good aura, because once one of your creatures dies, you may search your library for a new Infectious Bloodlust, making wins later than turn 4 possible. The most vulnerable point is that if the creature is bounced, you won't be able to search for this aura in your library. Twin Bolt proved surprisingly effective in Aether Revolt, and can also deal damage directly to the player. The only reason it's in the deck is because I see less viable alternatives to burn in Origins and starter sets. Exquisite Firecraft is mostly used to close out the game when your creatures can't get through. Fear Red Deck wins when you have 4 life or less. Act of Treason steals your opponent's creatures. Usually, the last blocker your opponent has is the target. Unfortunately, you can't target vehicles, but it can definitely help you win the game. Avaricious Dragon allows us to draw an additional card. By turn 4 or 5, we should have already played out all our spells, and don't mind the discard effect. The lands we have is just 22 mountains. Remember, in this deck, lands are our enemies. We want the least amount of them as possible, and no more than 5 of them in the field at any given time. Now that we have discussed the deck, let's play. Let's see what we have here. We don't really have any 1-drops, but let's go ahead and keep this hand. A white from the opponent. Right, I think I want to play out the Measuring Bully. We can get some prowess triggers off of him. And the Ember Hauler will still be viable in the end. So let's see, it's going to be a Smuggler's Copter. So it looks to be quite a fast game here. So we can go for an Abbot of Carol Keep, or we can go for an Ember Hauler. It's a question of whatever we want the Titan Strength on our Majoring Bully. I think I'm fine with going for an Ember Hauler right here, attacking with the Majoring Bully with the Titan Strength on him to get this Cry effect and see what is next. This is a land, which I definitely do not want. So let's see if our opponent is going to get a creature out and he's feeling confident to attack. Right, Renegade Willsmith. So when he taps it, a target creature cannot block. So he is confident enough in his Boros vehicles to go ahead and attack, which is fine by me. Gets in for 3, also discards a card after drawing 1. Alright, let's have a look at what's next. It's a Twin Bolt, so I think I want to go for the Abbot of Carol Keep right now to see if there will be any instant or sorcery that we can play for one mountain or another land that we can play. It's going to be Majoring Bully, so I'm afraid this will be a no-go for us. We're still going to be able to attack for 4, bringing our opponent down to 10 health. We also have 6 more damage that we can deal with instant and sorceries. So next turn we can pump our Abbot of Carol Keep considerably. But let's wait and see what our opponent has in store. Will he have blockers? Will he attack with the Smuggler's Copter this turn? Alright, he uses the Smuggler's Copter. We still don't have the second instant or sorcery to enable Spell Mastery for the Fiery Impulse to deal 3 damage, so... Alright. This means our opponent is going to hit us for 8 damage here. Let's see, if I'm going to deal 2 damage right now, he will have 8. And then I can deal 4. Yep, we actually have a lethal here, so let him attack us. He did tap out for mana. So I'm going to sacrifice the Ember Hauler. It looks like our opponent has just given us victory. So it doesn't matter what he does now, I'm afraid he has lost the game. Right, we even have Call of the Full Moon. This will also be enough to deal lethal damage. But let's go ahead and cast out the Exquisite Firecraft. And attack. Right, I think we can keep this hand. It's quite aggressive and it's also our turn. We do have 2 lands, which is good enough for us. Let's go ahead and play out the Goblin Glory Chaser. Seek the Glory. Let's see if our opponent has mana for a removal spell or a creature that can block him. Alright, green mana. Not many green creatures for 1 mana that are being played in the meta. So I think I don't mind just going for an Infectious Bloodlust here. Get in for 3 damage, make it Renown, and also if he gets rid of the Goblin Glory Chaser, then we can get another Infectious Bloodlust, which I wouldn't say is a very bad deal. So now our Goblin Glory Chaser is a 4/3 menace creature that must also attack each turn, so won't be able to block with a Seed Sculptor. We can get in for 7 next turn and bring our opponent down to 10 life. I think I definitely don't hate this. Let's go ahead and buff him. Alright, another Titan Strength I think is a really good draw here. We'll play out our other Goblin Arsonist here, and next turn when we attack we can use the Titan Strength on any of them that are not blocked. So let's go ahead and wait. Alright, our opponent didn't actually cast out anything else, which is interesting. And I think we do have quite a lot of damage. Of course, our opponent might have spells that gain life. Let's wait and see. Alright, blocks 1. Let's go for Titan Strength on the Goblin Arsonist. We don't want a land. And we deal 1 more damage from the Goblin Arsonist, which brings our opponent down to 1. Probably should have still played the Abbot of Carol Keep this turn, but even if he does have 1 more creature, such as an Armorcraft Judge, the Goblin Glory Chaser has Menace, so he will have to use 2 creatures on him. So let's go ahead and cast him to see what was coming next. It's going to be a Twin Bolt, so I think using this mana we can just not prolong it and instead close out the game. Alright, let's keep this hand and hope we don't draw any more lands. We are on the draw, and unfortunately we also drew another land. Let's see how it shapes up. Alright, Primal Druid from the opponent. Another land. This is becoming more and more unfortunate. Let's go ahead and cast Call of the Full Moon here. Our opponent uses his Primal Druid to block, which will allow him to get 1 of his lands out. So we'll have 3 lands now, but we did get a Renown on our Goblin Glory Chaser, which becomes a 5/4 creature with Menace and Trample. So now we'll just have to wait and see. Is this perhaps going to be some sort of creature with flash? We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, I don't think I want to play out the Abbot of Carol Keep this turn. So I think I'm just going to wait. Without casting anything. Our opponent now has 5 mana. 2 blue. Alright, Displacement Wave. So he's going to return all the permanents to their owner's hands. And that means our Goblin Glory Chaser is returned. So let's go for an Abbot of Carol Keep. Let's exile the top card in our library and see what it will bring. It brings out a Fiery Impulse, which we are not going to play, obviously. So now we're just going to get the Goblin Glory Chaser out. Our opponent can now activate the Lumbering Falls if he decides to. Alright, instead it's going to be Nissa. Let's see if he's going to attack with the land that he has untapped or not. He doesn't. So if we play out the 5 lands, we can get on the island with an Act of Treason. The question is, how much damage can we do? So we can deal 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 from the prowess trigger. It's a pretty tall order here. Let's go through the math again. So twin bolt 2, 3, 5, 6. Yep, 11 damage exactly. Let's go ahead and risk it. Get it with an act of treason. Attack, and then we're going to cast a Measuring Bully this turn. And next turn we're going to proc the prowess trigger for both of them with a twin bolt. Unless, of course, our opponent has something like another displacement wave or a way to bounce back the creatures. We just might be able to win the game. Let's wait and see. Right, Rogue Refiner. Decent card. He will draw a card and get additional energy counters. Can also use his land. But our Goblin Glory Chaser has Menace, so cannot be blocked. A thing that can save our opponent. It can be something like a fog, for example. So let's go ahead and attack. Let's just get rid of the Rogue Refiner here. Our opponent has left the game, so apparently he doesn't have a fog. We did get a bit mana flooded, but in the end we were able to pull through. Good game. I wanted to include a few games from the Kaladesh season here as well, since they are quite fast. So in this case I am going to keep this hand, having 3 mana. I will cast out the Goblin Arsonist first. Then on the second turn we can cast out our second Arsonist, and we can also buff our first one with the Titan Strength. Since our opponent is tapped out, we don't have to worry about... Alright, we don't have to worry about any counters or spells that would enable our Goblin Arsonist to be destroyed. We have also scryed and realized that the next spell that we're getting is Call of the Full Moon. Our opponent has white and blue mana, so might have something like Blessed Alliance, which will make us sacrifice a creature. This is our Call of the Full Moon, so let's go ahead and cast it. This makes our Goblin Arsonist quite considerable. Let's go ahead and attack. That leaves our opponent at 11. And we do have an Exquisite Firecraft and the mana to cast it as well. Alright, our opponent has the Knight of the White Orchid that has first strike. So this is going to be turn 4 for us. Let's go ahead and attack just with the Goblin Arsonist. Let's see if he's going to block. He isn't. We do have enough mana for anything really, so might just as well keep the cards in our hand to make our opponent think we have something else. Opponent is now at 4 mana. Any creatures? No. Interesting. Excellent. We got the card that enables us to steal our opponent's creature, so he won't be able to block. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's see if he has a counter spell for 2 blue mana. Alright, let's go ahead and attack then. And it seems this was quite a fast win. This is another game from Kaladesh season, with the same red deck wins. Let's try again. We now have only 1 mana, but I'm willing to keep this because we do have a 1-drop, and we have 2 Titan Strength that allows us to scry and to understand what is coming next, whatever we will need lands or creatures or other spells. This will be of help. Also, a 2nd mana will enable us to cast the Call of the Full Moon, giving our Goblin Arsonist trample. Our opponent seems to be running red vampires. We cut the 2nd mana. So let's use the Call of the Full Moon, because it's considerably more difficult for our opponent to cast out 2 spells in the beginning of the game as compared to later, so no need to delay. He is not going to block. We'll leave our opponent at 16 life. Now let's see. Our Call of the Full Moon does require our opponent to cast only 1 spell, but he does have the Hero Falkenrath out, gets in for 1 damage, which is fine. In order to stop him from using the Hero Falkenrath, we can next turn for 3 mana to discard and cast out the Incorrigible Use. I can probably get rid of her using the Fiery Impulse, but if I do cast out the Titan Strength this turn, then my enchantment is going to become null and void. So I'm not sure if I should do this. So I think I'm just going to leave my mana open for now and see if our opponent has 2 spells to cancel out the Call of the Full Moon. Alright. Our opponent is now at 3 mana. He casts out the Stensia Masquerade, which means that his vampires are now going to have first strike when attacking and grow if they deal damage to the player, meaning myself. So now it's going to become a 2/2 first strike vampire. Alright, that's fair enough. We've got another Fiery Impulse. And we can cast out the 2 Titan Strength. We can also cast out an enchantment here. But I think I'm still willing to just attack like this for now. And end of turn, getting rid of his creature with a Fiery Impulse, so that he does not have the ramp and he's not able to discard his cards with Madness straight away onto the battlefield. Because our opponent doesn't have mana, instead he discards the Key to the City and draws another card, which is fine. We still haven't triggered the Call of the Full Moon and will have left our opponent at only 8 health. So things are going pretty well for us at the moment. Our opponent is at 4 mana. Alright, he got his Olivia's Dragoon, which means that he can discard and Madness out any creatures he wants. He uses it to get Answer the Veins, so we're going to lose 3 life and he's going to gain 3, which is fine. We're still running on 2 mana, but the 2 spells have resulted in our Call of the Full Moon disappearing from the Goblin Arsonist, but we can still enchant it with the Infectious Bloodlust. Let's see if our opponent has a spell to get rid of the Goblin Arsonist. He does. Alright, he had to discard another Stencia Masquerade. We're going to deal 1 damage to him directly. That leaves him at 10 and leaves us at 15. Our opponent has stabilized a bit, but there are no guarantees he will have a lot more creatures out. The Olivia's Dragoon is going to grow now, thanks to the Stencia Masquerade. It now becomes a 3/3. Alright. We do have our Majoring Bully that we can trigger with Prowess, so these 2 Titan Strength that we had might come in handy, unless our opponent is going to have something special. Alright, we can discard the Goblin Arsonist, since it's the Goblin Glory Chaser, since it's not going to help us at all, but having 3 Titan Strength is just going to buff our Majoring Bully through the roof. So unless our opponent gets rid of him right now, I'm just not sure he's going to survive. We're not going to block. Dragoon has grown 1 more time. Alright. Now let's go ahead, and we have just enough mana for all the Titan Strength. We're going to attack. Let's see if he has any removal spells. Alright, let's pause and let's go for the Titan Strength. And the first one, I guess he would have used some removal already. Instead, he is going to maybe Madness out the Fiery Temper. So I think we have to trigger the other Prowess as well, so that he is out of the range of the Fiery Temper. I don't really want a Goblin Arsonist, but alright, our opponent has left the game. This means that we can get our other Titan Strength, and it doesn't really matter now what we're getting. We're going to discard the Goblin Arsonist, and he is going to use the Fiery Temper, but our Majoring Bully is already too strong, and that means we have won the game. Alright, let's have a look. Only have 1 mana, but a lot of 2 mana spells, so I'm not sure if I want to keep this hand. Let's risk it. Red from our opponent. Might have some removal spells. Alright, we got our 2nd mana. We're going to play out our first drop. The Goblin Arsonist. Hamburg Garrison from the opponent. So might be a red deck wins from our opponent. It can grant haste for 1 red mana and a tap. It can also transfer if it has Hunter Battlements. For now we have 2 Titan Strength, so I'm not sure if I want to get the Majoring Bully out or just go for the Titan Strength right here and now. I think I'm still willing to develop our board a little bit to cast out the Majoring Bully, even though our opponent might have some removal for it. Alright, here it comes. The Fiery Impulse on the Majoring Bully is going to render it obsolete. Alright, interesting. So no guarantees, but this might be a vehicle deck. This pilot also has haste, so we're going to be brought down to 18. Let's see what are our options. I think that since our opponent is tapped out, It's alright to enchant our Goblin Arsonist with the Infectious Bloodlust. He has no way to interrupt the spell, so we're going to hit him for 3 damage, leaving him at 16. Alright, he also has red mana. He can actually even crew the Renegade Freighter and give it haste, so it will become a 6/4 creature with trample, which is quite sizable and deals quite a lot of damage. This brings us down to 13. Now we do have the Fiery Impulse. We do have a Twin Bolt. Question is, what do we want to use? I think I'd still want to cast the Titan Strength out this turn to buff our Goblin Arsonist and also to scry and see if we can get another mana for the Exquisite Firecraft and the like. So let's go ahead and use it. 1 mana. Should we take it or not? Alright, let's take it. This will allow us to go for an Exquisite Firecraft or Titan Strength and Twin Bolt next turn. We can also cast out the Ember Hauler. Alright. Our opponent now has the Thopter Engineer out, so he can crew the Renegade Freighter again, making it possible for him to attack for 6 again, bringing us quite close to defeat. So if he gets another creature out, he will be able to deal little damage to us. So I think we will have to use the Twin Bolt this turn, as well as the Titan Strength. I don't think I want to use the Exquisite Firecraft on the Thopter Engineer. So let's go ahead and attack. Use the Titan Strength to see what's coming next. It's going to be another mana, but we don't need any more. So now that we have left our opponent at 4, I think we should get rid of the Thopter token and deal 1 more damage to the opponent. This way, if he's going to crew his Renegade Freighter, alright, he has another Thopter Engineer, so he can attack for 7 this turn. But fortunately he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have any more mana. Right, he does attack for 6. This leaves us at 2. But this also means we just might win. Alright, we even got an Act of Treason. So we can either steal his we can either deal damage directly to him and win the game, or use the Act of Treason and steal his creature. Let's steal the creature. He cannot tap it. Right, he has left the game. He cannot tap this creature for crewing the vehicle, and anyway, even if he did, he's completely tapped out and this would have been 3 damage enough. So yeah, thanks for the game.